Welcome to this new how-to. In this how-to we're gonna look at how you can use the navigation systems in the Beechcraft 17, which has been released earlier this week by Asobo. So let's go inside the aircraft and let's have a look. So for the navigation system we are going to focus on a few things. Let me move to them. You can see that the camera positions are not idle, so let me do it manually. So first part is of course this part, and then the right piece of this instrument is critical because this is where you can set the navigation radios, right? It's also when I'm hovering over it, you see it, you can change the volume of the navigation radio, you can change the frequencies using the small and the large knob here, and you can switch the active radio, right? So the left one is in use, the right one is on standby. The cool thing is that if you turn up the bottom or turn up the wheel from the nav1 volume, and if you're lucky you might be able to hear the frequency of the radio. And what I mean with that is as follows. Let me open Navigraph for that. If I select this beacon, you can see that there's let's say a Morse code here. If you have set it correctly and you switch up the volume a lot and turn down the engine volume sometimes or a bit, then you will hear that it will sound like this. So short, long, short, long, long, long. That confirms that you correctly configured the radio on this navigation beacon. So what I did before starting the recording, I used this small knob, right, to change the number after the digit, and the large one to change the number before the digit. So I can do that also for another beacon, right? If I, for example, set SPL, which is Schiphol Airport, I can set it to 108.40, right, as I already have done, and that's the only thing I need to do. So I can close this window now. Once you're airborne, and sometimes when you're lucky and the VOR beacon is close to you, you will see that the instrument on the right will show up directly the information for you, and that's this one, right? This one is critical to use for navigation. This is the Omni bearing channel button, which you can use to figure out, okay, hey, what is the direction I need to fly to if I want to fly straight to the VOR beacon. In this case, you can see that currently it's this let's say small icon is set to 2, right? So if I would do this, right, you can see it's set to 2, and once we bypass the VOR, you will see that it will change to from. So this arrow will move to here. What does it tell us? Well, if we would fly this direction, we would fly straight onto the beacon. So let's go airborne and let's see what happens. So we're gonna increase the engine, increase the throttle, remove the parking brakes, adjust a bit. See that sometimes it's nasty, right? Sometimes, especially with this aircraft, it's not that easy sometimes to taxi. Almost goes wrong. So we're gonna slowly increase the altitude because you can see that it's not up to speed yet, so we should have waited a little bit longer. And we're flying. It was not the best takeoff, of course. We should have waited a little bit longer and then should have pushed back the stick a bit. So if we would focus on the instrument, right, which is now on the right side next to the propeller button, you will see that it starts to move. That's, I would say, kind of normal, right? So if you're flying pretty close to it, it will start to move. Don't get distracted by that because you can fine-tune whatever you want, but it's, let's say, it will continue to move if you're coming very close to it, and that's perfectly normal. Let me adjust the trim a bit. so that I can release the joystick. I can see that it's moving, right? So if we would look at the instrument, you can see that it now is continuously moving. And what you will see in a few seconds is that this arrow will change. Well, we're flying, I also need to make sure that we're flying straight, right? So this will also tell us, hey, we're flying into the correct direction. You'll see it's changing again. And when it goes as fast as this, it will change. In a few seconds, this arrow will change to from, because we're flying away from the beacon. And that's also something we can confirm with Navigraph, right? So if we would open Navigraph, you will see that we're now straight above the beacon. And it will soon divert to us to from. And that's also what happened now, right? So if we look a little bit closer, you can see that it has now changed to from. Why is that useful? Well, in some cases, right, it could be that the next beacon is, I would say, miles ahead and you didn't pick up the signal yet. In that case, you can still use the old beacon and use the back course to figure out, hey, am I flying into the correct direction away from this beacon? Because that also tells you something, right? So if we would turn a bit. So like this. So let's assume that we want to fly away from the beacon and straight away from the beacon. Then we can still turn this and figure out, okay, hey, what's the direction we need to fly to? Well, of course, I should launch the different way, turn the wheel the different way, because we're flying north, right? In the meantime, we need to adjust the course a bit with the joystick. And you can see that if we would fly this direction, you can see it's continuously turning, and the reason for that is that the aircraft is turning, right? So if you would want to fly 30 degrees, then we need to adjust the aircraft direction. In the correct direction. Probably we did fly into the incorrect direction right now, but we can, let's assume that we want to have this course, right? We can still use it, because then we can say, okay, hey, this is for almost 25 to 30 degrees. It's a little bit hard to see, and the aircraft continuously starts to turn, so I need to correct it. And I can use this to make sure that I'm flying the correct direction straight forward, right? So that's one of the options you can use the navigation for. Make sure that you're flying away into a certain direction while using the old navigation beacon.
Rotterdam Tower Beechcraft November Charlie 353 Echo frequency change.
So if you now press the button again, you will see that it changes, because we're flying straight to this airport, this beacon. To figure out which direction we need to fly to, we need to adjust this one. So if we want to fly straight to it, we need to fly this direction, right? Which is roughly 20 degrees. So let's adjust the course, and you can use the other compass, which is here, for example, to make sure that you're flying the correct direction. So it's different compared to what you probably are used to in the large airliners or in different aircrafts. It's, I would say, in the older aircrafts, it's, I would say, kind of expected that it works this way. And this simply makes sure that you're flying the correct direction, right? So you can simply fly straight to the beacon which you want to fly to, which is very useful in our case. So if we would zoom out, right, you can see that it's over here. So probably we need to turn a little bit more to the right side, right? So in this case, I'm playing a little bit, I'm cheating a little bit, right? Because I'm using the Navigraph map. this is how I can use it, because now this arrow is almost the same as this direction, right? So I need to adjust it a bit. So you can see that using this instrument used with this compass, you can figure out in which direction you need to fly to make sure that you're arriving at the waypoint. Always keep an eye on both, because it's critical to keep both. I would say to keep an eye on both, because you can see that if I'm turning away, right, then I will probably not reach the VOR, because if I would continue to fly in this direction, I would miss it. So I need to adjust my direction a bit. And you will see that this one again starts to move, right? So we need to correct it again, because it will tell me, okay, hey, this is the direction you need to fly to. So this is it. And this is how you can use the instruments. So the Beechcraft 17 only has, let's say, a limited set of instruments, right? It only has one, or actually, well, one navigation radio, and you can switch it between nav 1 and 2. And that is easy because you can still use that for navigation purposes. So I'm gonna adjust the course again. So good. But again, keep in mind that you need to readjust these settings continuously, unless you're flying on the autopilot or have a very straight, let's say, straight flight, right? So you continuously keep the joystick in your hand and making the adjustments. So pretty useful, right? So a really easy way to navigate. It's completely different than GPS navigation or NDB, right? NDB is a different way of navigation. This aircraft doesn't have any NDB, right? It only has the option to use VOR. So in some countries you might have some, I would say, challenges, because in a lot of countries they're deprecating the VOR channels. So then you probably need to do it on the visible space, right? So then you need to fly VFR, fly on the visuals which you're seeing around you. But in this case, in the Netherlands, we can use it partially. In other countries, for example in Germany, it's even, let's say, it's used more, I think, than in the Netherlands. At least from playing with Flight Simulator, I must admit that. So in this how-to, we looked at how you can use this nice instrument in combination with the navigation radio for navigation purposes. This instrument helps you to fly to a specific beacon via a specific course. It will show you if you're flying to the beacon or away from the beacon, which will make navigation easier if you want to fly using the nice Beechcraft 17. Here ends this video. I hope you liked it. If you liked it, then consider to use the like button. If you got questions or comments, then feel free to post them in the comment box below. And if you want to stay up to date about new videos I'm posting, then make sure that you're subscribing to my channel. Thanks for watching and see you next time.